Hello, friends. Day 5. Bar's closed. So we left off with, why. My day job's been pretty full right now. We're transitioning parent companies, and luckily I've been on full cylinders and haven't had a lot of time to think about myself today. But, I just, wanted to put up bubbles in my head at times and try to reach into those inner places and continue to prepare for this moment tonight. And so one of the things, that came up is just, I only had 2 more add-ons to what I had mentioned last time, and the why was, the only other 2 is really sex and alcohol, definitely from a young age to an adult to where forever. There was always the kind of messy or more exhilarating or more stamina or many different variations of sex and alcohol that were definitely very addictive for me. Another thing I think was, it just popped in my head as I was kind of walking up here was, essentially that it can give me a second wind, whether it's, going and grabbing a couple of drinks after work and you're tired, but next thing you know, you're out until 2 a.m, to working in an editing bay, which I've done for many years of my life, and different forms of building out websites and things, my own company. I can drink on my own job. It doesn't matter, where I'm editing and I'm just tired, and I go and say, okay, well, now I've done it as long as I can sober, and let me go grab a drink and let's do round 2. And then I kind of can do another 2 or 3 hours until I'm blurry and slurry and then be done with it. But it seemed to have pushed me over that edge, and I actually started to enjoy it and maybe even thought it was even more creative, and maybe some of it was. Eventually, typically I would come back and kind of tail end edit, the kind of more sloppy side of it when I was thinking I was doing better than I was, but it would work. And so winning formulas are always a big thing for me to understand is, what are things that I adopted that worked for me that don't serve me. And so those are the other 2 things that I can think that adds on to the previous why. But really what kind of landed on me today, I think it was kind of cool that it landed on me on day 5 for a variety of reasons, but it was just the what if, right? And then the previous love of my life really hit me with that pretty hard at one point, when we were breaking up, and just said, if you keep this up, something's going to wreck, something's going to crash. And so it hit me hard, and it had to take that into consideration, into heart and soul, and it really kind of put me on a different trajectory. But now having a moment to kind of look at what if, I had also was looking for, some history on my story house here and trying to understand a little bit more of the roots of what happened underneath this soil and who built it. And as I was looking through and kind of, the old Speakeasy history of it and a lot of fun stuff that I wanted to find out more about, the story of Jackson Pollock came up somehow. I don't know why. The serendipity of the show and all that kind of thing, wouldn't surprise me. But all of a sudden, I never even knew this. I didn't know much about his life. I knew about his art, but didn't know much about his personal life. And all of a sudden, I'm hearing about him drunk, wrecking his car, him instantly dying, killing another woman in the car, his girlfriend, maybe survives if I recall the story right. And neither one of his women is his wife. And so that's one picture I can paint myself, as a creative person who has that creative drive, inspiration, wired brain to push it to the limit, to find that edge and to put it into the world in some kind of art piece and art form. And if it's not working, you can feel tortured. My favorite writer of all time, Khalil Gibran, died a tortured man, feeling like he was dried up. I mean, we all know the tortured artist story, even the greatest, but to kind of see his life end like that, and that kind of tragedy, where lives were lost, it takes it out of like the nighttime news version of it happening, somehow when you obviously add these celebrities to it, who should you really kind of think would have all at their disposal to, I don't know, be better, to not make that kind of tragic mistake in their life, and to really, the horror of it, to what they do to other families and other people and everybody else when they do it. So there's that. And then I just had a best friend of mine who was murdered last year, stabbed to death. And this is a 20+ year friend, best friend and business partner and soul brother, psychic soul brother. And one of my all-time favorite drinking buddies. I mean, we tore it up, ripped it up when we wanted to. And it was so much fun. And somehow when we did it together, we really didn't get in trouble. But it gave us that engine that when we did it on our own, we could go get in trouble and have. And so, him getting murdered, stabbed to death, 3 o'clock in the morning in kind of an odd neighborhood, I don't know. It strikes me. I don't know the whole story. I really am still kind of in PTSD still, I think, in waves of it, of just grasping and digesting his loss and his passing, but also really kind of knowing in my heart that Zach was probably drinking that night. If not, maybe, participating in another substance or whatever. I mean, he had no shame in his game. He had beautiful children. He was a wonderful father and a wonderful professional and a wonderful brother and a wonderful son and a wonderful citizen and a wonderful human. So me telling this candidly, it's my story and I'll tell it. I just kind of feel like there was probably some substance, most likely alcohol is the primary, and probably only alcohol, because he had given up a lot of other playground stuff that we all would participate every once in a while in. So he's probably, fueled on alcohol in a situation, and he's gone. And so the what if, kind of that one's close to home. Then you got the Jackson Pollock, and then you have every story of every broken home and broken child and brokenness. That's my thoughts for tonight. Thanks for sticking with me.